Good morning, everybody. We'll get started. Welcome, everybody, to the May 15th, 2024 Seek Board meeting. We'll call this meeting to order. I have to read this disclaimer here. As this meeting is being recorded and for the benefit of those who have dialed into the meeting, when recognized by the chair or for any motions or seconds, please state your name prior to speaking. Please note that if you are dialed in, you may not make a motion, second a motion, nor vote on a motion. It's highly recommended that this meeting be in person, and it's great to see everybody here. This is probably the biggest one we've had this year, so that's awesome. Guests or persons having relevant knowledge or information may attend and speak as part of the agenda upon acceptance of the meeting agenda by the board. All other guests must be recognized by the chair before addressing the board or participating in discussion. I'd like to introduce a couple new folks at OIAC. John Raymond. John comes to us from Herkimer County. He was director over there. He's a radio engineer and is going to be working with Matt Delaney in the programs unit. And I would also like to recognize our new assistant director, Amanda Schultz. Most of you folks know her. She comes from Livingston County, was director of communications over there. Both these guys are a great addition to our team at OIAC. So welcome. At this time, I ask Heather to do the roll call.
Okay. Mark Balistreri.
Here.
Amanda Schultz. Here. Tim Morris.
Here.
Jeff Newding.
Here.
Jeffrey Houk.
Here.
Bob Terry.
Here.
Jordan Fairchild.
Here.
Steve DeZura.
Here.
Ryan LaFleur.
Here.
Kimberly Beatty. Michael Volk.
Here.
Alan Turner.
Here.
Andy Tripp. Juan Figueroa. Michael Soretto.
Here.
We're good.
Okay, everyone should have received a copy of the January 17th Seek Board minutes. Are there any questions or corrections? If not, I'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes. Motion by Jeff. Second by Brian LaFleur. All in favor? Aye. Motion's carried. Everybody should have received a copy of the draft agenda for today's meeting. Has been. Are there any questions or comments on that? I'll entertain a motion to accept that agenda for today's meeting. Tim Morris. Tim Morris. Second. Bob Terry. Second, Bob Terry. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Committee reports. We'll start off with 911 advisory. Alan Turner is the chair.
Everybody should have a copy of the draft standards. We've gone through it, fine-tuned. I believe we're all set to vote on it today. Everything looks good. And that's all I have.
Okay. NG 911 working group. Paul Glasser.
Morning, everybody. So the NG 911 working group, we did meet last week after the symposium. It was a rather short meeting, about 15 minutes, because I talked to most of those folks at the symposium. We did have a brief discussion regarding the RFI. For most of you that know, the RFI was published last week. June 4th is the deadline. Basically, we just really discussed kind of what we're going to do once we start getting these recommendations back, and we'll start working. Our next meeting isn't scheduled until August. It's consistent with the Seek Board meeting. However, we've decided that we're going to have a meeting prior to that, so we don't have to wait 2 months to start talking about the RFI. So hopefully we'll get some responses back, and once we do, we'll start working on that.
Thanks, Paul. GIS working groups. Jason and Steve are both here, I believe.
Hi, I'm Jason and I. We co-chair the GIS working group. We've had 3 meetings since the last Seek Board, one as early as this week. We have good attendance yet, and still a really good exchange of information between GIS and how it applies to public safety. Also, what we did is, based on Mark's direction, we put together a mission statement regarding what our committee's mission statement is. And you can read it at your leisure here, but really the role has changed slightly from what it was years ago. It's now GIS, not just next gen GIS, because there's a lot of GIS inside of public safety independent of next gen. Next gen is hugely GIS, but everything we do is spatial, right? Anything we do in the emergency services is spatial. So that's our mission statement. I want to thank the state support, the counties and the cities in our committee. We're happy to see the state well attend the meetings and looking forward to moving into the next phase of spatial data use within public safety, including Next Gen 911. Thank you.
Any questions for any of the 911 advisory or the working group? Okay, we'll move on to the State Agency Communications Committee. Mr. Delaney.
Good morning. We met on May 7th in a hybrid format. We went through the agencies present. We did some agency updates, and then we discussed topics and presentations for our future meetings, what the state agencies would like to talk about, who they'd like to see presentations from, and we have 2 more meetings scheduled for this year, August and October.
Matt, you get to stay standing. Learning committee.
Yes. So we met on May 9th in a hybrid format. We had about, I don't know, let's say about 30 or 35 people all together in the meeting. Dr. Mickey Olson from UAlbany gave a presentation on some research she's been doing on extreme heat communication, talking about the words to use for the general public to understand the risk that's being communicated to them on extreme heat. I think a lot of attention in the last few years on the impacts on heat. Actually, heat is the #1 killer, weather-related killer of the public. People don't realize it, but it does because of all the various impacts from extreme heat, especially in the summertime. We also had a discussion on WEA, wireless emergency alert messaging, and the recent earthquake and solar eclipse, and received some input from the FEMA IPAWS office, who was with us on the phone. There were some issues that were observed with wireless emergency alerts during those 2 events, with some phones that did not alert. So there's been some follow-up occurring just to determine where the problem was. Was it a cellular problem? Was it something on the phones? But more to follow on that as we figure out what happened. We also discussed Next Gen TV as ATSC 3.0. This is the next generation of digital television broadcasting that's starting to be adopted in some of the TV markets across the country. Some work is being done in North Carolina on the ability to alert both the public or first responders using television broadcast signals. So instead of today, where you receive an emergency alert system message on your screen as a crawl, it could be targeted to just people in a certain geographic area, the way it is with cell phones, but also it could have additional data, taking advantage of the fact that digital television broadcasting can send a large amount of data. It could include maps, pictures, video clips, but also it could direct it just to, say, public safety. So public safety could use it almost like a one-way receipt of emergency information broadcast to them using television broadcast transmitters that are usually very high power, cover a very large area. Also, ATSC 3.0 includes mobile, the ability to receive it while in motion at high rates of speed, so you can receive it in a car while moving as well, that you can't do with digital television today with reliability. Yep.
Interesting stuff. Okay, at this time, I'll entertain a motion to accept committee reports.
Second.
Second by Mike, first by Brian LaFleur. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Program updates. Matt Delaney, want to talk about the grants? Might as well just stay standing.
Yeah. My chair away. So we've released the 2024 PSAP operations grant and SIG-G formula grant. We released those April 30th, due back early June 6th to 12th. If you have any questions, contact your grants representative or the grants program office regarding those RFAs. Our next SIG-G targeted grant RFA is in the works. We did an award back in the wintertime, and now we're working on the request for applications to be released in the future for the next round. Any questions on grants?
Thank you. Thanks, Matt. Communications unit, Julie?
Nice job, man.
Hi, good morning, everyone. So as you can see, we have our current schedule posted. We do have 3 courses pending in the late fall, but we're hoping that we will get them approved soon. So we're going forward with registrations as is. as though they are approved. If anyone needs the schedule, please contact me and I will be sure to send you the schedule. The other courses that are coming up, the big one is the COMEL Train the Trainer. I do encourage anyone who is able and meets the prerequisites to get into this course because CCECD is changing how they are going to set up these Train the Trainer courses for instructors. They haven't released all the information to me yet, but I do recommend that if anyone can get into it now, because it'll be easier now, it'll just get harder in the future. Yeah. So we are also asking that for everyone to share a schedule to get our courses out there to people who need them, or if there are any regional courses that are requested, you can submit a request to our office and we will work with CISA to put it in the technical assistance and get it approved for a regional course. We've had 3 successful regional courses done and the stakeholders have been very happy and appreciative of the regional courses due to staffing and, needs for travel. They can't supply the staff to travel. So we do ask that you share a schedule with any stakeholders or interested constituents. The big news is that we are working with CISA ECD to push, we're not pushing instructors, but we are hoping to get instructors authorized to teach incident tactical dispatcher, radio operator, and incident communication center manager so that we can offer these courses as state sponsored and they will not have to go on our technical assistance, and then we can offer them whenever we have the capacity in our schedule, and therefore we will be able to offer these courses as regional courses as well. If you guys have any, questions on that, I've notified most of the instructors that we are looking to look forward to be instructors for these courses, but if you feel that you are or know somebody who can become instructors for these courses, please have them contact me. Thank you.
Thanks, Julie. Great job, by the way, you and Phil are doing on that, so really good job. All right, Paul, 911.
Good morning again. So the New York State plan, we are working through that. In addition to the Next Gen project, this is a separate deal that we're working with. The draft has been completed. It is an internal review. Once we get it back from internal review, we'll make additional edits based on those reviews. And then we'll send it to the advisory committee and the working groups for take a look, and then they'll present it to the C board. So Next Gen, again, I already mentioned this, the RFI was published, they're due back. Once that comes through, we'll review it through the Next Gen working group. Nice Tech has partnered with MCP, so we do have a regular schedule with them. We're actually 2 meetings that we're meeting. One is on the state plan, and one is on the Next Gen project. We're meeting this Friday, and then we have a regular scheduled meeting with them. Touch base meeting to keep the project moving forward. We already do have the Next Gen 911 roadmap. It was developed several years ago, but now we're going through and we're working on it and updating it and getting everything prepared. So while we're waiting for the RFI, we're working through some of the other documents that we can be prepared for so we can move towards RFP. That is it.
And thank you to Paul and Matt and other folks that are working on this. You guys are already seeing that we're starting to move a lot of this stuff forward in a positive direction, and we're trying to get input from folks as well. So it's all positive, so that's good. Thanks, Paul. All right, federal partners. I know Region 2 has a big meeting going on right now currently, and Chris Tuttle's not on the phone, correct? And Josh Green, I knew wasn't going to make it. And Dave Cook.
Good morning, and we have from the FirstNet Authority have nothing new to share than we gave 2 weeks ago. And I'd like Placid and Mark on behalf of the authority, thank you for allowing us to participate. That was, I recommend that. Pulled off a real good job. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave. Okay, we'll move on to our other updates. I believe Dana Smith is on the phone.
Yes, good morning, everyone. Sorry for not being there. It was a long story from last night. We had the C3 meeting last night, as usual. We also met when we were in Lake Placid at the symposium. We too would like to thank the office and Mark and Julie and Heather and Joanna who worked on that effort. I think it was a great symposium and interaction. A lot of good information was provided, and the other chairs feel the same. Last night, all the regions were represented. We had just given the regional reports in Lake Placid, so they were deferred for our next meeting in August. There was very good discussion. We had a conversation last night of sort of redefining our mission and making sure that the C3 is productive as possible and good use of everybody's time. The relationships and communications are significant. There's been a major change in the past year with the reorganization, but Assistant Director Schultz had a pretty good recommendation we're going to follow with the new state interoperable communications plan. There's some clear-cut goals, and we're going to sort of use that as a guidance for our next meeting to sort of just bolster the mission of the C3 and make sure it's productive as possible for all the counties we represent. That's it.
Thanks, Dana. I think, just to reiterate what Dana said, the C3 group, adding in the state agencies and the 911 coordinators, has opened up some communication gaps, if you will, that have made it a much more productive group. And there's a lot of best practices and lessons being learned from that group. And I think to the betterment of all of us, state and county. So, and Dana, you're doing a great job too. So thank you. Sorry you didn't get much sleep last night.
Thank you. Yeah, a little HVAC challenge and no rooms at the inn anywhere.
Okay, we'll move on to the SAFECOM report, Mr. Kopstein.
All right, for this, I'm gonna get up for this one, though I don't generally do it. This is the website we've got up now. And it has a tremendous amount of information in it. You can get to it with cisa.gov/SafeCom. And just to show you a little bit before I go into the oral part. Operating guidelines, we went from SOPs to SOGs because an SOP has a legal requirement to follow where a guideline is just that. This is the latest item that we have. It's for 911 cybersecurity. It's a resource hub. And if you go to it, it gives you best practices. It'll give you quite a bit of information on what's going on with cybersecurity. So I would strongly encourage you, if you get the opportunity, to go onto the website, look at everything on the website. It's up to date. Got a lot of toolbox information and the like. You can kill it now. Thank you. All right, going into my report. I just showed you the cybersecurity resource hub. You will be able to go into it, add information if you've been attacked, see information for other people who've been attacked, what the prospective solutions are, and what CISA's guidance is. In SafeCom and NICSWIC, we're looking at AI. We're looking at a whole host of issues, especially in the ECCs, formerly known as PSAPs. So what are we looking at? Can we use AI for translation, for triage, for transcription, for word recognition, as well as video analysis? Because once we start taking in video, if you don't have an automated way of looking at it, it's going to be significantly personnel intensive to do an analysis. And unless Mark starts writing checks, nobody's going to be able to pay for what that analysis is going to cost.
I forgot to bring something to the meeting.
Just look down at you, right, Chuck?
All right. We have a new toolkit out. It's called Public Safety Communications and Cyber Resiliency. Again, to help with cyber and the like. There's a new publication writing guide for standard operating guidelines. Again, guideline rather than procedures. There are some states where jurisdictions have been sued and lost big dollars because the procedure wasn't followed line by line versus a guideline which gives you some flexibility. We're looking at cyber attacks to P25 systems. At least 10 systems were brute force attacked. 2 systems were penetrated with ransomware and brought down. The director is aware of it, and if there's further discussion necessary, I'm sure the director can do it one-on-one. I'd rather not go into more of it publicly. We're still working on the new ICF position curriculum. GPS issues. GPS problems have been getting worse, not better. We have to be aware that simulcast systems can be significantly impacted if they lose GPS connectivity. Hence, Plan Bs and Plan Cs. For those here who are emergency management people, you should always have a Plan C. Double redundancy, N+2, whatever you want to call it. There's been some issues down in the Southwest with the cartels and criminal elements jamming radio communications. Even if you're encrypted, even if you're trunked, you can jam a frequency. So that's something that's happening down in the Southwest. Data backups for ECCs. We know from prior incidents that if you don't have a good backup system that's totally segregated from your primary system, you can be in a world of hurt if you get brought down. Something we have to think about. We're going to be reissuing cyber risk to LMR. There will be a second edition coming out, hopefully sometime this year. Another issue that's become problematic in a number of communities is swatting and spoofing. So CISA and Iowa are working on a project to address swatting and spoofing. If we can figure out a way to mitigate it and it works, then it'll come out. For those who know the CISA and the like, Chris Essed, who was with IOD, is now back with ECD. He's the senior advisor to the director, and he's going to be working particularly on IT issues. ECD and CISA are now doing international coordination and collaboration on interoperability and cyber risks, because it's not just a U.S. issue. And last but not least, something that will be for Matt, I guess, we are now working on the next grant guidance document for the next fiscal year's grant guidance. That's what I've got. Be more than happy to answer any questions now or after the meeting. Thank you.
Thanks, Jay. Any questions for Jay? Can't stress enough the cyber stuff. We talk about it. We have it at conferences. We go to presentations. We watch it online. But good cyber hygiene is very important. And we talked about it last night a little bit at the C3, especially with now counties connecting to each other. What is your neighbor's cyber hygiene like? Do you have vendors that have access to your equipment remotely? Have they gotten rid of employees that still have access to the equipment? Do you have disgruntled employees that have access to your information? How is it connected back to county networks and things? I think a lot of counties have their own ITS department. How's the relationship when it comes to to that. So there's lots of things to consider with cyber. I know we keep mentioning it, but as Jay mentioned, there were a couple attacks recently since our last meeting. So it's definitely going to continue and probably get worse. So it's really important for everybody to look at it closely. Okay. We'll move right into old business. I was thinking about the standards. So we had sent the standards out to everybody. Actually, we provided them at the last meeting. We had a good, we had no really feedback that was negative. We had one C-Board member that brought something up that was a good catch. So we made that change and we sent them out to everybody, I believe, a week ago to look at. Alan, I think, my recommendation would be let's let everybody just take one more good look at them from now until the August meeting. And we'll shoot to vote for them at the August meeting if that's okay with you. I mean, I think our goal was to try and get them completed this year. We're still in this year, so we're good. I think if everybody's okay with that, is anybody opposed to doing that? All right, so take a good look at them. If you have any questions, please contact our office and let us know. And we'll take a look at them. They've been, thank you to the 911 Advisory Committee for the SEEK board members that have been looking at these and bringing things up. As everybody is aware, this is an update to the current wireless PSAP standards. That's what we're trying to accomplish here, just an update at this point. The document will most likely be changing again as we move into the NG 911 world. So just keep that in mind. All right, any questions? Is everybody good with that? Nobody opposed? Okay, perfect. All right, I'll entertain, anybody have any other old business? I'll entertain a motion to accept old business. Brian LaFleur, Mike Soretto, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Does anybody have any new business? I have a couple items. Heather?
If I may.
Yeah.
For the board members specifically, there is a card next to your name tent with a QR code on it. This is just to make sure that we constantly have your updated contact information. It is important that when we do send out information about upcoming board meetings, or if I need to send out information to the board members, that your information with me, your contact information stays up to date. So if you take a moment to scan the QR code, fill out the form, and just ensure that we have all of your updated contact information, it would be appreciated.
Thanks, Heather. We have one resignation since the last meeting, Richard Anderson. I'm not going to read his resignation. He resigned from the SEEK board. Do I need a motion to accept the resignation? That's good. Okay. So since the last meeting and at the conference symposium, the question was asked on how we're working on filling the vacancies and some people that had showed interest. We met on that and we are moving that forward. And we did adjust it with Mr. Anderson's resignation. So hopefully more to report on that out in the future meetings. So the other item I have under new business is I know in the past, I mean, we provide updates to everybody, which is good. There's a lot of good information. If anybody has ideas for presenters that they'd like to see come to this board and do presentations, please get a hold of our office. We'd like to make arrangements to have that done. There's a lot of good presentations out there. Some ideas just from the meeting today. Do we want to see a good cyber presentation? Do we want a good jamming presentation? Jamming is a very important item, and I know Brian LaFleur does it for our ComU courses, and it's very valuable. In fact, I think there was a law enforcement agency that went into the back room in a robbery because none of the phones would work in the area. And they discovered jamming equipment that was still there in the back room and were able to identify it because they took it in the ComU course and knew what it was. So, all right, I just wanted to kind of mention that. Carriers, do we want to have the carriers come in and do presentations? There's a lot of things out there for public safety, priority preemption, other things out there. They have equipment that if you guys need or your counties need it, or the deployables, I guess is the best thing I want to say there. Things like that. So please get a hold of our office offline if you'd like to see certain presentations, and we'll try and get one lined up for the August meeting. Everybody agreed with that? Think it's a good idea? Okay, good. All right, any other new business? Yes, Jim.
So just a quick reminder for the members who are appointed, that is the folks who aren't here representing a state agency. Being on this board makes you a policymaker under state ethics law, which means you have to file a financial disclosure statement. I sent an email reminder to everybody yesterday. If you didn't get that, let me know. I'll update the email address. But just please try to make sure you get that in on the deadline, which happens to be today. Have any questions, I can try to help you out. But it's also run by the ethics committee, so a lot of the systems run by them. So I'll try to help if I can, but any problems might have to go through them as well. Thank you.
You can do it online, I believe,
Yeah,
and it's relatively easy. Once you do the first one, it's relatively easy.
Remember, there's a checkbox that you can hit in the beginning. Will allow the system to preload all the answers with what you put in last year. So you don't have to fill in all the blanks all over again if nothing has changed. Handy stuff.
Yep. And then your status will change on the page and it will say filed. So, right, or fired, one of those. Any other new? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to accept new business. Motion Brian LaFleur, second. Second Sheriff. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Anything for the good of the order? Everybody enjoy. Finally, we're in summer. The next week, well, kind of. I don't know. We went from winter to summer and then back to spring, I guess. The next meeting hopefully will be in summer, so. August. Thank you, everybody. Hang out, chat, network. Hey, guys.